Cossacks: The Art of War is the expansion pack to Cossacks: European Wars, which was released about this time last year. Cossacks is a real-time strategy game set in Europe during the 17th and 18th century. European Wars focused on historical events and all the nations in Europe that helped make all those events happen. The Art of War continues on this by adding whole new historical battles, new single-player missions, and even adds 2 new nations to enter the battle with. And while the expansion pack doesn't drastically change all the core elements from European Wars, you'll find that the additions that are made make the game much more enjoyable and opens up whole new strategic options for the player. The Art of War's new content will keep fans busy for quite a while. There are 5 new campaigns, each spanning several missions. The Art of War's new content will keep fans busy for quite a while. There are 5 new campaigns, each spanning several missions. You'll play in such figures as King Frederick of Prussia, or you'll play as the Algerian pirates in the Mediterranean Sea. And if this wasn't enough, there are also several new single-player missions and historical battles that you can play in multiplayer as well. Now, curiously enough, none of these new missions feature the 2 new nations, Bavaria and Denmark, at all. But that's not really that big of a deal since they are pretty much similar to every other nation in the game. There are also a few new units, and mostly on the naval side in the 18th century. And they are quite important because you'll find that a map that has a lot of water, you're going to want to dominate the seas, or else you'll have these huge ship of the lines just pummeling your base and all your units and make life real difficult. When you start a new battle, you're going to find that you have a whole set of new options you can choose from. First of all, when you do a campaign, you can actually select from 4 different levels of difficulty now, which will make it much easier for those who are new to the game and also give the more experienced players a challenge as opposed to just skipping the campaign because they're too easy. There are even more options when you're starting a random map. You can choose to start with an extensive army, or you can start to have cannons, or you can even just start with a swarm of peasants that will help you build your base much quicker. And a more interesting feature for single-player random maps is that you can now start with the computers on your team, and computers can be allied against you. So this means that now if you want to play a huge battle on a map, that you don't have 7 computer opponents just beating down on you and destroying you real quick. Once you're actually in the game, you're going to find that there are a lot of gameplay improvements and tweaks. The most drastic change is the fact that each artillery depot can only build 5 cannons at any given point. And since if you want to build a second artillery depot and then a third and a fourth, the cost gets exponentially higher, you're going to find that you're going to have a limited amount of cannons on the battlefield because of this. It's good for the gameplay because players would be scared to send their huge armies out in front of a big battery of cannons because they'd all die and leave you defenseless. Other improvements are seemingly simple, yet they're really important strategically. First of all, units can now guard and patrol areas. And it's most useful when you're trying to defend units that can be captured by enemies such as cannons or peasants. And formations have been tweaked as well. You can now group several formations together as a single entity. So you can set up cavalry in the front and pikemen to guard the cannons and move them all together and have them stay together throughout the whole movement. You can also easily replenish ranks of formations. Previously, you'd have to disband the formation and then reform it, but now you can just click a single button and any extra pikemen that will be around will join the ranks of a pikeman group. One thing the expansion pack does not touch on are the graphics and sound. The sound is real disappointing because there are no unit acknowledgements. It'd be real nice because there are so many different countries, and if they all answered in their own native language and tongue, it'd sound really cool. Some AI issues weren't addressed either. The computer players are unbelievably efficient at building their towns and creating armies. And teaming up with a computer player will make you realize just how cheap they are setting up their base and building up their army. And also when you try and capture enemy cannons and buildings, they'll still destroy most of them right as you're about to capture it. The Art of War may not introduce a whole new game to Cossacks, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Cossacks is a very good real-time strategy game. The gameplay elements are very solid, the controls are really easy to use, and the developer was wise not to change this. The new campaigns and missions will keep you playing for a very long time, and even if you happen to finish those, the new choices in the random map offer a near limitless gameplay variety for gamers of any skill. And for a price of only $19.99, this expansion pack is perfect for anyone who owns Cossacks, or it's a good reason to go out and buy the original game.